All right, welcome back to Big Board. Let's take a look at Next War Iran. I figured rather than do a box opening shrink grippy thing, I think there's already plenty of good ones. You should go check out Mo's game table for that. He has a great vid there, and you can see all the components and let him share all the little details and bits and pieces. But I thought what I would do is give you a little bit of an introduction to the tactical surprise scenario. And while we're doing that, we'll share some of the things that I've noticed that are different from when I actually got to do a physical play testing of Next War Iran. So let's kind of get started with it, and we're going to talk about some of the optional rules as well, and hopefully I'll cover as many as I can of the choices that you need to make during for these advanced scenarios that impact the VP calculations and things like that. So this is a little bit of a different game from many of the other Next War titles, primarily because it's got these infrastructure or oil and shipping bits and pieces here, complexes that accrue VPs by turn for one side or the other, depending on either who controls them or whether they've been destroyed or stuff like that. And in fact, now that I'm going to look over the VP list here, I'm just going to look and see what the allies get for, or receive, I should say, for... Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it's 2 per turn for the non-allied, which would be the Iranians. And then where are the, per turn ally control of non-destroyed patrolling facilities, strategic, tactical, or extended scenario. So 2 will be 2 VPs. We're playing tactical scenario. 2 VPs for per turn for the allies. So there's when I look at that, it makes for an interesting set of choices in terms of, do you want to capture them in good shape and then accrue the VPs, or do you want to just try and destroy them outright? There's 8 of them on the map, I think. Destroy them outright and then limit the Iranian ability to accrue VPs. And the reason why that matters is that 16 VPs a turn is going to start adding up once, and you don't want to get too far behind the curve on that VP differential between allied and non-allied. So it's just something to think about. And so that's one of the first things that's very different for this series. I don't recall if Pakistan or Korea or Vietnam had or Poland for that matter, had a per turn VP accrual. I don't recall off the top of my head. Maybe someone can chime in the comments and let us know. Anyway, so that's one of the first things you've got to think about. It's like, what am I going to do with that, and how am I going to do it? Then, as both sides then have to start thinking about what allies do I want to bring into the game, and what's going to give me the most bang for buck. And and then you also may have your own theories on whether the Russians would get involved or the Chinese would get involved, and how engaged would Qatar or the UAE or Oman or the Saudis be in the whole exercise. So we'll move over to that section of the map, the strategic map, in just a second. I did want to show you one thing that's been very useful, and this is a new chart. At least new to me anyway, this advanced game naval movement guide, really showing you how to go about doing contested moves and all this sort of good stuff for coastal, inshore, and at sea boxes and things like that. And this has always been, for me, part of the game that I always seem to end up grabbing the rule book and having a look, going, now, am I doing this right? So I love the fact that this is here. Very, very helpful. It's on the back of the unit identification chart, if you're wondering. Super helpful. Let's see. So there's that. It was new. A nice reinforcement schedule, which is all color-coded. I think that's pretty standard. I don't think there's a whole... Let's just have a quick look here on the yellow charts and see. Oh, yeah, this is another good one here. I haven't spent a lot of, this is title specific, so this is a operational and strategic integration reference. So what can move where, how far, what are the stacking limits on the little islands that are scattered around here we're going to look at in just a second, and bits and pieces like that. Theater weapon ranges, which is nice also. So that just little reference charts that make things make things easier. The card stock is nice and thick as well, which is always pleasant. Yeah. So the next thing with Iran, if you haven't read anything about it or played at all, I'm going to pick up the camera, so bear with me. Let me lock it in place so it doesn't slide too much. Starting over on the left-hand western edge of the map, you can see those look like mobile missile launchers, right? So you can see those there. There's 10 of them on the western half of the map, and then there's 10 here on the eastern half of the map. Now, those, half of them are dummies, half of them are real, and they all have to be within a certain number of hexes. I think it's 5. They've got to be in either mountain or whatever that terrain is. I forget what it's called. Some sort of, not hill, it's rough or something like that. Anyway, not relevant, but this terrain or that terrain. And what's going to happen with those is while they exist, there's 20 naval SSM missiles that can be fired. While they exist, any movement into the naval, into the actual operational map, and indeed into the Gulf, either of these two Gulfs, is going to be more difficult while these things are at play. And of course, you can also then potentially suffer catastrophic loss of amphibious units, a SAG, or a CV battle group. So that would be that goes under the category of bad things. So they need to be taken out, but you've got to detect them first, reveal them, and then destroy them. And it's yeoman's work to do that based on my we'll call it 1.25 of a gameplay. I played a scenario with Ralph Shelton, the developer, who was a complete dick, by the way. He, and you got to be patient in this game. Do not rush in with the allies. That's one of the only gameplay tips I'll give you. I moved into Jask here. I attacked it pretty aggressively. Got some guys on the ground, started pushing in, started to look to try and clear some of these missile sites and things like that with the Marines. And he nuked his own city. Who does that? Who does that? Anyway, that's why Ralph's a dick. Well, that's one of the many reasons why Ralph's a dick. All right, so let's have a look over here. Lots of tracks. Don't freak out, but good tracks that help. So splitting out the AWACS and submarine threat levels, intervention level trackers over here on the right, so we can follow where we're at with all our different allies and whatnot. Air mobile points and air sea transport points are listed on the game map now as well, so that keeps things nice and clean. And then here, this is very different now. This all used to be on the western part of the map, and it was a little clunky and a little crowded. But now it's all stacked over here on the eastern side of the second map, and it allows us to have a holistic view of what's going on with some nice. What's the right word for it? Mnemonics or whatever to help us, indicators to let us know that I can move by helo from here to here, which I should show you just real quick. Also, you've got these little hexes here with the number of movement points, right? So we know that it's going to be, to get to here, it's going to cost me, what's that say, 19 movement points. A little rules reference right underneath it, so it keeps it all pretty slick. Okay, so now I've got a good overview of what's going on. Here's our map area. Strait of Hormuz. We've got Oman and Gulf inshore areas, which are much bigger and easier to use now. Got these two little islands that are kind of megahex sized. There's a 3 SP stacking point limit for those hexes. You can only airdrop or parachute in parachute in one step at a time as the allies. And I guess, yeah, we've got the same would go for the non-allied side as well. And so then, so you've got all this information here. Now, what we've also got here is our Saudi, Qatar, UAE, and Oman holding boxes. What I did in terms of selecting forces that I was prepared to pay VPs for, I wanted to make sure I absolutely got Saudi Arabia and absolutely got Oman fully committed. So not only do I have usage rights, but I also have their forces are involved, and I can use basing and all the rest of it for these guys here. So that's why we've got some Brits and the Tura and the Gurkhas here. They're going to start there, I believe. I need to double check all that. I haven't really put too much thought into it at the moment. Right. So there's that. Let's talk about the VPs that you are going to pay in order to acquire various allies. The U.S. will picks up some VPs if the Iranians want to use chemical weapons, and there are 2 dice rolled, and then the allies will receive 5 VPs per chemical strike that's used. So that'll come at some point. I elected not to take on nukes in this particular scenario. Probably still having emotional issues from Ralph nuking his own city. The PRC are going to be the force that will get engaged in the war. Not the Soviets, and you'll see more about that when I start writing this up and doing the videos. But they came in at intervention level 2, which means that the PRC, that will give the Allies 47 victory points. Nice little bump. We spent 15 VPs to acquire Saudi and Qatar compliance. And then on the non-allied side, what's going on for them? Well, I elected, because, F-35s are cool as shit, I elected to pick up the F-35s as an optional rule. It's optional rule 16.1. So that was 10 VPs for them. Allied interoperability was another 5 VPs, another 5 VPs for this Wild Weasel capability for the F-22s and F-35s. And then the big ones, we're getting the UK involved for at level, I think I put them in at level 3. Yes, I did. Here we go, level 3, which was going to be 48 VPs. That's a total, once we add all that up, did I overpay? Now he says, looking at the video, 36 extra VPs here for some reason. So it's 104 VPs for the non-allied side. So that's going to give us a net differential of, I think, 45. You can see the 2 white counters there on the general track. So now I need to check this little note I made here about this 36 VPs. I wondered if I added that because that looks kind of high. Anyway, we'll sort that out. Not a problem. Oh, and here's the other thing that's pretty interesting with, let me see if I get the camera zoomed in here a little bit here. The other thing that's going to cause issues for you as the allies are these Persian Gulf boat tracks, patrol boat tracks, one in the Persian Gulf, one in the Oman. We can move patrol boats between these, and I've also got 3 reserves that I can start replenish them as they're attacked or degraded by airstrikes or naval activity and stuff like that. So that's going to prevent you, as the Allies, from doing any landings whatsoever until such time as you, you clear the house, right? So significant issue for the Allies to take care of all these patrol boats. And it's a nice little abstract way of dealing with all that. And I actually spoke incorrectly here earlier. I said that was the map area. Clearly, it extends a little bit further. So here's the operational map area here. It's the entire section. It goes all the way to there, right? So, all right. So that's kind of the big grand scheme of things. We've got our aircraft all set up over there, and we're going to just finish doing a few little bits and pieces to finish setting up. Need to check a couple of rules from the expansions for THAAD. I'm debating whether or not to use the EW rules. I've found that in some instances it's fun, but it's really just another layer of work and might provide some good narrative. But on the flip side of all that, it's a couple of extra die rolls, and there's enough going on here right now, particularly with the fact that it's a relatively new, it's a new system for me. I've only played it one time. Not a new system, a new module, I should say, for me. So let's just roll with it as is. And I may pull out some of the optional rules, and we may integrate them as we go along. We'll see how things transpire over time. All right, so there it is, the tactical surprise enter Sandman scenario for next war around. Let's go roll some dice. Have a great weekend. Ciao.